Feeling stressed during quarantine? Well, you are certainly not alone. We're talking millions of Americans aren't just worried about their health, they're also worried about their livelihoods and their futures, and many have questions surrounding just exactly when they can get back to normal. In fact, in a recent Real Clear Politics op-ed, the author wrote that closing the economy has, quote, created a more infectious, possibly more lethal disease than COVID-19, the stress virus. So what can we do to manage stress in our own mental health during these unusual times? I want to bring in human behavior expert Karen Ruskin. Karen, you had some great advice for us about a month or so ago as this was evolving. And now, you know, the anxieties and the fears of the disease are starting to give way. I wouldn't say cabin fever because this feels a lot more intense, but I'm hearing from so many different people that they just can't not take much longer being locked away and isolated the way they are.
That's right. People cannot take it much longer. And what's happening is you are seeing emotional, behavioral, reactive response from all ages. There is emotional reaction in terms of depression symptomology, anxiety symptomology. People are responding with overabundance of food, overabundance of alcohol. People are responding in how they're interacting with their spouse, with their children. My biggest concern here is truly the system-wide effect this true stress epidemic is having on marriages, on parenting, on personal health and wellness, increasing suicide attempts and success. Very concerned about this. As well as I just mentioned with the alcohol piece, I am seeing way too much of people using and abusing drugs and alcohol to escape from the problem. Grief loss, identity loss when it comes to jobs. People experience grief symptomology, and that affects your immune system and therefore your health.
So Karen, it feels like it's difficult to quantify these when you juxtapose them against 2 million people around the world have the virus. A certain amount have died from the virus. You know, as these governments, state governments, the federal government, all try to decide the consequences of us going to work too soon, how do you put this into that equation?
Right, so let's take a look at the equation. If you have, without even having a number amount, let's think about it. Human behavior, let's see it. A certain number of people who are going to die from an illness, a certain number of people who in reality are experiencing job loss. And of those people who have job loss, it's not just them. We're now dealing with their spouse. We're dealing with their parents that perhaps they were taking care of. We're dealing with their children. It's system-wide in terms of the quantity of people that are affected by not working. When it comes to work, that affects one's mental health and wellness, and you literally will feel sick. How many times am I hearing right now people telling me that their heart is hurting, that their heart feels like it's beating out of their chest? They wonder if they're having a heart attack, or is it a panic attack? So how do you quantify numbers in terms of how many people are actually dying versus how many people are being impacted? And not just right now. We're talking the future, Charles. We're hearing what's happening with people. If you lose your job and you can't afford to provide for your family, what's going to happen with the money that you did have to save for your future? Now you're tapping into that if you even had that. And if you don't have that, how are you providing for your family in the now?
There's certainly a lot to consider. Karen, always appreciate it. Thank you very much.